Alright, today we're putting on an EC5 connector. We've got our EC5 housing, and then we've got our two connectors here. And then what we're going to need to do, we're taking off an XT60 in this case, so I'm just using a little X-Acto knife. Be careful not to cut the insulator, and you just are going to open up the heat shrink here. And I always recommend doing only one side at a time to prevent shorting. So now, take that out of the way. And also, I don't like to cut the wires because then the solder, the wire is already pre-tinned by just using a little heat and a dab of solder to remove the old wire. Now it's free. Now we're going to take the EC5 housing, we're going to slide it on. You make sure you do the correct polarity. There is a plus and a minus, and we're going to go ahead and put the minus on the black wire. Alright. And so I like to use a pair of vice grips, basically, that are just attuned, or that are just adjusted light enough that they don't crush the barrel, but enough to keep the barrel in place. So I like to go about like so. Give it a little bit of an angle so that when you come in here like this, it'll go nicely. Now also make sure you have enough insulation strip. This could actually use a little bit more insulation removed on it. So I'm going to go like so, very gently. Try not to cut the wires underneath, or even score the wires underneath. Then I use a little bit of soldering flux, and I just put a few drips inside the barrel. And then I use a big iron. Okay, this is a 150 watt iron here. And we're going to go ahead, heat the thing up, and that's the flux cooking. And then the solder will melt right into there in just another couple of seconds. There it goes. So now the inside of the cup is tinned, and our wire is already tinned, so just keep it hot. Put the wire in. Hold it for another few seconds to heat up the wire. Okay, make sure you're nice and straight. Then let go. Alright, and now, see there's a little bit of flux residue on here. It needs to be cleaned off, so I use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a paper towel. Of course, when you're using rubbing alcohol, don't use sparks. And don't light your cigarettes or anything like that while you're working on it working with alcohol, because it does burn very easily. So then you go ahead and you just give it a little pull. Clicks into place. There's the first half right there, just like that. Okay. And then to do the others, now this is insulated and protected, we can go ahead and expose the other side. And again, just be careful not to cut your insulator underneath. Alright, and so then I'm just going to go ahead and finish removing the yellow connector. I'm going to put the red wire through the housing. So then, just put a dip of the flux in here. Oh, it is important to make sure that you use electronic flux. Don't use plumbing flux or acid flux. That will have disastrous results eventually. So, tin up your tip, get everything heated up. See, the flux goes crazy. A couple more seconds and the solder melts. Okay, the cup is nice and full in there, and then you go ahead and put the wire in. And then you let the whole thing heat up all at once together to make sure that the solder and wire join with the solder in the cup. And then you go ahead and wash it with alcohol again. Get the flux, wash the flux off. Now in this one, there's a little dab of solder here that we need to remove, so I actually just use a pair of flush cut pliers. Good, bad, or otherwise. Like that. Okay. It goes in the connector. Clip home. Now you have an EC5.